Isn't that a beautiful song? Just work hard and be nice to people. Pretty easy recipe for success, I think. I heard those two songs, both the Stray Cats and this song by Michael Franti this past week, and they just struck a nerve within me. Same with the other songs that we played today. Welcome to our Global Sunday Gathering. We're so grateful you're here, whether for the first time or you've been with us all the way on our journey or somewhere in between. Each week, my friends and I come together to share a little love and light and lightheartedness and joy and that special knowing that our loved ones in the spirit world are ever so close. They keep one foot in our world and one foot in theirs, where they continue to grow and learn, and it's very special. So I don't take it lightly when I say thank you for being here. You're part of our family, and we're so grateful for that. Our theme today is past, present, and future, and it's kind of an umbrella for many different things. We could go many different places. Some of our music represents past and present and thoughts on the future. And also our reading today from me is talking a little bit about our past and how we get to be who we are today. We have wonderful Nick, who will be doing our address and be talking about some of the past. And I think you'll find it very enlightening. Of course, we've got our dearest friends, Carrie and Phil, here today. They will be doing our demonstration of mediumship. Carrie will be opening us in prayer. Phil will be doing our words for the week and closing us in prayer. Whether you're here again for the first time or you've been with us before, or you're watching the replay, just be at home. We're just a group of like-minded people who want to serve. And these Sunday gatherings mean just as much for us as I think they mean for you. So welcome, and I'll pass it over to Carrie for the opening prayer.
Thank you very much, Sandra, and welcome to the Sunday gathering. Welcome to Nick as well. I'm looking forward to your address. Always lovely to hear you speak about something that you're very knowledgeable on. So looking forward to that. For those who are joining us, we'll start in the usual manner with prayer. Divine, ever-present power of all creation, we are here within this space, this sacred space of the Sunday gathering. We are here because we know our loved ones walk with us, and yet we always look for confirmation, comfort, and joy within that knowledge. Today, as we move forward through today's gathering, we know that within our hearts that we will receive something that will educate, create insight, allow us to have awareness and to grow as better people, that allows our souls to grow, our spirits to soar, and for us to feel part of a community that allows us to be who we are and how we are whenever we are. Amen.
Thank you very much, Carrie. Okay, for me and the reading, this is something I wrote. Today, our theme is past, present, and future. Nick will be speaking of some of the fascinating history in the past, but I wanted to share something personal to us and share with you about a fascinating book that I'm reading. It's no secret that we are the way we are because of our past. Our parents gave us a lot of their values and beliefs. We often adopt them as our own or choose something different, not wanting to recreate the past. We hear stories that when a child is told they aren't smart, as adults, they go on to get many degrees, and no matter what they may achieve and attain, their belief in themselves is still that they're not smart enough, and that's right there under the surface. Those things we believe as children take a deep hold within us subconsciously that we don't realize as adults, that our inner child may be running us. Thoughts like not good enough, not smart enough, not lovable, not included. Also, when someone hurts us far in the past, we may stay distrusting everyone in our future, creating our own never-ending story, perhaps of we can't trust people. One of my earliest bits of baggage was when I was a teenager. Oh, my first boyfriend, Sam, broke up with me for my best friend, and I was devastated. A summer went by. He came back and he apologized. We started going out again. That's what we called dating back then. Only for another few months to pass, and he broke up with me for my new best friend. So teenage Sandra did not realize that I created a statement for myself that I'm unlovable, that there's something wrong with me, that there will always be somebody better. And guess what? Never trust a best friend. When you look at my dating relationships, I kept having the same things happen. Some guy would break up with me for someone else. You see, I think I was creating that future for myself based on my belief. These poor guys I was dating, they saw somebody with low self-esteem, somebody who probably acted like I was unlovable or that there would be someone better. And I was being a little fake, I think, and not being the real me. Of course, we all know people are the most lovable when they let their own light shine. And thankfully, I've done years of investigation as to what it is to be human and who I am. And yes, I know I am lovable. And I think you witness my authenticity here on the Sunday Gathering week, every week. I'm free to be me. But I used to go through life afraid of dating, as I was afraid of the pain of another breakup. And then I met a dating coach, and she asked me the question, how bad was it for you after your dad passed? And I told her about the grief and the separation with my siblings, and it was just the worst imaginable pain. And she said to me, you survived it. Could the pain from a breakup be any worse than the grief from your dad's passing? Because you know, Sandra, there's a lot of fun in love and being out there. And the answer was, of course, no. If I could handle that, I could handle anything. I could handle a breakup. So that realization had me know that if I could handle such deep and intense pain, I'm stronger than I knew, and I can handle anything. So the book that I'm reading is called The Comfort Crisis, which suggests that we humans thrive and are often more successful in our life because of our pain and our hardships, and that right now in the world, we are far too comfortable. I grew up in the days when children playing on their own and with the neighborhood kids. Sometimes we didn't come back home or check in with mom and dad till it was dinner time. From those from our generation, because I know there's many people in the Sunday Gathering that were part of that, we can deal with some of the things that the younger generation cannot. Scientists at New York University identified that the year 1990 was the year when parents started doing what was called helicopter parenting for fear of children getting kidnapped, which was all over the media starting around those days. Now, preventing children from exploring is the cause, they say, that now over 80% of those with depression in current day, when we're talking children and adults under 45 years old who deal with depression, it's because of not having those days of exploration and challenging themselves and seeing what hurts, putting our hand over the fire. And we all know how high antidepressant use is today. In addition, author Michael Easter, his research suggests that part of our human beingness is always to be on the lookout for what is wrong. Certainly, living our life, if there was danger of a tiger pouncing on us or there's danger in our paths, we need to be on the lookout for things that are wrong. We do. But today, our lives are so comfortable with all the modern day conveniences that our ancestors did not have, that we, as human beings, are looking for wrong in the wrong places. We're finding fault with our family. We're finding fault with our friends and ourselves. Our food isn't just right. The room is either too hot or too cold. Someone is driving in traffic and they're too slow or they're too fast. How dare they? We live in a time that we use a remote control for our television, and we have almost all of the information in the universe on our fingertips, right at our fingertips on our cell phones and iPads. So what is the answer to this dilemma, you may ask? Well, first, it's to recognize our own humanity and what makes us tick. While looking for problems may be part of being human, we humans can rise above it. Yes, we can. We can give gratitude and look at what is right within our lives and people in it instead of making any of it wrong. We are blessed, and I mean blessed, with family and friends and conveniences that our ancestors did not have. Next, remind yourself of who you really are. Take an inventory of your successes and challenges that you've overcome. Our minds want to tell us negative things about ourselves. Remember, that's part of the human machinery. But remind the mind who you really are and all that big stuff you have done. And also, while you're at it, think of your loved ones and all the sacrifices they've made and what they've done. Pretty extraordinary people. So, third, challenge yourself, or we must challenge ourselves. Learn something new, try new activities, try even maybe pushing your limits. I know Carrie is a mountain climber, but my cousin Ben just got back from a 3-week mountain trip in Argentina. The whole time below freezing temperatures. And he certainly was not comfortable living outdoors for that long and all the things that came around it. But when he got back, as exhausted as he was happy. He tackled that mountain, which is the second highest mountain next to Everest. He feels like he can do anything, and he's right. So I'm not saying we all need to climb a mountain, but for you, maybe that is something. I want to leave you with a story of a wonderful woman that I interviewed this past week. Her name is Maria Pei, and I'll have her interview for you later on this week. On June 11th, 2011, she received the most devastating news. Her 2 teenage boys, Sean and Kyle, were staying with her ex-husband as they had shared custody. And while the boys were sleeping, he killed them, and then he turned the gun and he killed himself. And this led Maria into a long journey through grief and looking for evidence of the afterlife. I'm proud to say she's the author of the book, Journey to the Upper Realm: How I Survived the Deaths of My Sons and Learned to Communicate with the Other Side. If Maria could have her kids back, she said she certainly would. But her story now is one of survival and thriving. She's learned a meditation technique to be in communication with the boys. And she says right now she is living the most incredible life with love, with world travelers, and being of service to other people. She never imagined life could be so good, but also feels she couldn't appreciate the greatness of it without going through such deep pain and deep grief. When her waves of grief kick in, instead of making the grief wrong, she remembers her love for her boys and the time they spent together. And grief, that feeling of grief, now leads her to gratitude. I want to thank you for listening to my reading. I hope you enjoyed it and could see yourself in it a little bit. And I challenge all of us, myself included, to try something new, to know that our humanity really wants to pull from making people and places and things wrong, but to take the time to acknowledge what right we have in our world. And I know for one, I'm very grateful. So we're going to go into our healing now, and we're going to listen to a song from the past. Now, it was written in the early 1700s by a young man, Johann Sebastian Bach, but it is played by present-day musician, and he plays it on his dulcimer, Ted Yoder. As we remember all the people and places and things that need some healing, visualize them whole, complete, and perfect. And I know those in the unseen world can use our energy and direct it to where it's needed in the world. So I ask that as you listen to the music, you give gratitude for what is right in your life, the people, the comforts you have, whatever you can think of. The song is about 4 minutes long, and after about 2 minutes, if you wish to open your eyes, I had created a slideshow about some of the pioneers of spiritualism, so we can pay a little honor to them. And then after the song, the next voice you'll hear would be Nick for our address. So thank you, and let me turn on our healing song.
Well, hello, everybody. Thank you to Sandra and to Phil and Carrie for inviting me to be part of this beautiful event. I've decided today that I'd like to speak to you a little bit about something that's been a little forgotten in recent years, but in its day was very important. It was a big part of the spiritualist community, and that is the spiritualist Lyceum. So first of all, let's just have a look at the Latin word lyceum and what it actually means. It actually means college or high school, and it also means gymnasium. Aristotle's Lyceum was founded in 335 BC on the grounds of the gymnasium in the area of Lycion in Athens, Greece. Gymnasia were places where young men would physically exercise. They gradually evolved into centers of spiritual exercise and learning. And the gymnasium of Aristotle was named so because Aristotle would teach and share his philosophy there. So where did the Lyceum movement begin? Well, it all started in America in 1861 by a gentleman who was known as the Poughkeepsie, better known today as Andrew Jackson Davis. They had premises that were located at Dodsworth Hall, which were next to Grace Church on Broadway and 11th Street in New York City. Here in the UK, it was founded in Manchester in 1889 by Alfred Kitson and Emma Hardinge Britton. Bearing the same relation to spiritualist churches as the Sunday school unions to the churches of other religious communities, the movement became the British Spiritualist Lyceum Union. The first British Lyceum in the UK was opened in Nottingham in 1866, with a second one in 1870 in Keighley, and a third one followed shortly after that in 1874 at Sowerby Bridge near Halifax. In the early days, there was a lack of education, both mental and physical, for children as well as adults, and lyceums were places for children and adults to come and learn together. They were sort of learning communities. The British Spiritualist Lyceum Union was later formed when there was a coming together of various lyceums that sprang up in the succeeding years. In 1948, it became a branch of the Spiritualist National Union and was incorporated into the Spiritualist National Union as the Spiritualist Lyceum Union. The Lyceum program in America, as adopted here in the UK, was aimed at the intellectual, moral, and spiritual development of children, along the lines of Andrew Jackson Davis' vision of children in the spirit world that he called the Summerland. The founders were, of course, Andrew Jackson Davis, who founded the movement. Here in the UK, Alfred Kitson, who was the first secretary of the Spiritualist Lyceum Union. And he also became known as the father of the British Lyceum movement. He was helped by Harry Kersey, who became the first president of the Spiritualist Lyceum Union, and of course Emma Hardinge Britton, who helped co-produce the Lyceum Manual. So the Lyceum leaders were urged to be bright, active, cheerful, and to ensure that the children were happy. From the Lyceum Manual, it states, have no hard tasks for the children, no learning of difficult questions, aim at making the children happy so that their Sunday may be to them the most pleasant day of the week. So you can see there was a heavy focus on teaching the children within the Lyceum movement. Activities also included marching through the streets, games, recitations and music. In fact, lots of music and lots of singing, as harmony was a big feature of the Lyceum movement. The Lyceum Manual still exists and it is full of hymns and songs, all about angels, sunbeams, woodlands, flowers. But the early spiritualist churches were often sprouting up in areas of working class towns, especially those across the north of England. There were connections with other social and political movements, such as vegetarianism, social reform, and socialism. The Lyceum movement today supports the Spiritualist National Union and its 7 principles. The Lyceum became a branch of the Spiritualist National Union in 1948, being given special responsibility for the education of the young. It promotes a religious philosophy that teaches us how to live, embrace the natural world and all the elements of this world. And the Lyceum teaches social and humanitarian skills, something that's much needed in our world today. Lyceum groups of today are formed of varying age groups with diverse purposes. Some have formed groups to aid each other with Spiritualist National Union coursework. Others are engaged in study, and some children's groups have produced marvelous examples of spiritualists in action. The modern Lyceums are totally reformed. The modern activities today include Tai Chi, dance, meditation, and yoga, things of that nature. Lyceumists are encouraged to go out and visit places and share places of interest together, have meals together, either in churches or outside. And they're also encouraged to take part in church activities, either through administrative duties such as chairing or speaking, and even demonstrating. There was a Spiritualist Lyceum magazine, which was started, first published in Oldham, which is just outside Manchester, in January 1890. This magazine ceased publication a little later that year and was replaced by another magazine called the Lyceum Banner. It was a spiritualist publication and it was a monthly paper published by J.J. Morse in Liverpool until 1902, when the paper was passed to the Lyceum Union under the editorship of Frank Kitson, and continued to be published through to the 1930s. So let's have a closer look at some of those who founded the Lyceum Union. Let's start with Andrew Jackson Davis. As I mentioned, sometimes referred to as the Poughkeepsie Seer. In New York in January 1863, he gave a lecture to a spiritualist audience and described a vision he had in one of his his altered conscious states, really. And he described seeing spirit children being taught and trained in the spirit world, and suggested that a similar system of learning will be a great benefit to children here on the earth. His lecture inspired a good number of the members present in the audience, and they established the first children's progressive lyceum. A little bit about Andrew Jackson Davis's life. He was born in Blooming Grove, Orange County, New York, in August 1826. He was the 6th child and only son of his parents. Only one of his 6 sisters survived girlhood. And Andrew was a very sickly and very nervous young man. He often heard voices. His mother was illiterate, but deeply religious. His father was a cobbler, drank heavily, and the family was quite poor and moved frequently, eventually ending up in Poughkeepsie, New York. Davis had little formal schooling and drifted from one job to another: farm boy, grocer's clerk, cobbler. He started an apprenticeship with a shoemaker named Ira Armstrong in 1841, 1842, but left the following year. So what was it that enticed him away from his apprenticeship? Well, in the fall of 1843, Davis attended a traveling show of magnetist and phrenologist Stanley Grimes. Davis volunteered to be magnetized but didn't become hypnotized. Nearly all the Poughkeepsie tried mesmerism. However, eventually a local tailor named William Livingston finally succeeded in entrancing Davis later in 1843. He discovered that Davis was susceptible to trance, and while under, he could see through the body as if it were transparent, making astounding medical diagnosis. And for a year, Davis worked as a clairvoyant and a healer, becoming known as the Poughkeepsie seer, and Livingston gave up his job in his tailor's shop and devoted all his time to Davis's work. In 1844, Davis underwent a strange mystical experience in a state of semi-trance. He wandered or was transported 40 miles away from his home to the Catskill Mountains, following a flock of sheep, of all things. He fell asleep near an altar in the woods, and again, seeing a vision of sheep, mountains, and a shepherd this time that he recognized as Christ. Next, he met a small old man dressed like a Quaker, who carried a scroll that Davis signed. Hurrying down the mountain, he fell asleep and woke up in a graveyard where he encountered Galen, the Greek physician. Galen provided Davis with a long lecture on his healing work, explaining his methods, and he presented him with his staff. Following Galen was Emanuel Swedenborg, who also lectured Davis and declared that the young man will become a vessel for the perception of wisdom, opening the soul's way to harmony. At that, Davis tried to depart over the cemetery wall and, in a bad temper, got caught on a post. After this outburst, Galen refused to give him the staff and cautioned him to learn to control his emotions. Dazed and a little confused, Davis walked home. Alfred Kitson, who I mentioned, is now better known as the father of the British Lyceum movement. He was born in Gawthorpe in the West Riding of Yorkshire, and Alfred Kitson was strictly brought up as a Methodist. And his father was curious about spiritualism and decided to go and do some investigating, and his expectation were really that he was going to find it all fraudulent. And in the end, he ended up developing as a medium and working as a medium. Alfred became convinced that spiritualist religion could help mankind and devoted his efforts and his heart, really, to work for the children and the Lyceum. He wrote several books, and some are still available today. Helped by Harry Kersey from Newcastle, he collaborated with Alfred Kitson and Emma Hardinge Britton to produce the Lyceum Manual. He also paid for it to be printed, and later worked on a further publication with his sister called The Spiritual Songster. So Emma Hardinge Britton, born in 1823 in the East End of London, and by the age of 19, her musical skills had evolved into a stage career. In 1844, she began working under the name Emma Hardinge at the Sadler's Wells Theatre and the Adelphi Theatres in London. She then received an invitation to New York in 1855 to appear on stage. This included paid passage for her and her mother, and a 9-month contract at what she considered to be an extremely good salary. During her visit, she met a spiritualist couple who persuaded her to have a sitting with a medium. This experience changed her life, and Emma discovered that she had a mediumistic gift herself. In 1856, she gave a table seance that spelt out a message from a friend who died on a ship called the Pacific. At that time, the ship had just sunk and no one was aware for a little while afterwards. From then on, she became a well-known medium and practiced all over the world. She became one of the 19th century's most popular mediums who spoke publicly and wrote prolifically to support the growth of spiritualism all around the world. She gave public talks on philosophy and spiritualism, often in a light state of trance. She allowed her spirit guides to inspire her words or even speak directly through her at times. She's one of the most renowned and respected advocates of spiritualism working in the early modern spiritualist movement. In 1871, Emma received a message through mediumship from Robert Owen. Robert Owen was a well-known Welsh philanthropist, social reformer, and one of the founders of socialism and the cooperative movement here in the UK and in America. Robert Owen had passed a spirit in 1858. His message was given to Emma some years later and contained 5 principles of spiritualism. Later, to simplify things, the SNU modified those into the 7 principles that we have today. And that is how the Lyceum movement came about all those years ago with Emma Hardinge-Bredon and Andrew Jackson Davis. I hope you found it of interest. I've touched on the surface of the lives of some of the people involved in that, but you can join me a little later this month when we're going into far more detail about those and many others, many other of the pioneers responsible for building our movement into what it is today. Thank you for listening to me, and back over to Sandra.
Thank you so much, Nick. And if everyone would hit the raise hand button as a thank you to Nick. You may or may not know this, but if I hadn't seen an ad way back 2016 for something called Voices in the Past at Banyan Retreat in Ashford, Kent in the UK, we would not be together. Nick and Stephen hosted an amazing weekend, and I continued to attend every year. And that's how I met beautiful Carrie and handsome Phil, and of course, Scott and Darren. And so, Nick, thank you really for being here today and for sharing. And on the 27th of February, Nick will start with us a 6-week program about the history of mediumship. So many people may just think a medium is what you see here on our Sunday gathering, giving messages. And there's so much more. There's so many different varied ways that mediums operated in the past. And now it's very few that we hear of today. So if you're interested in that journey, I'll tell you more, but it's all at wedon'tdie.com. And within Nick and his friends, Soul Quest happens every Sunday, 4 hours before we started today, 10 a.m. New York time, 3 p.m. London time. It's a beautiful healing service that Nick and Anne, Stephen lead, an opportunity to really send heavy duty prayers and healing out. And there's always some philosophy and good words and music videos. So soulquest.org.uk. You can find out more about Nick and Soul Quest. And he's also eventually down the road, I think this year, going to be leading a healing class for us as well, as he knows so much about spiritual healing. So Nick, thank you. And everybody attending our Sunday gatherings, I think you may know what a commitment we all have so that people know and live by the fact that we don't die, that our loved ones are around us. We're going to go into our demonstration of mediumship now for that, but just that we're joining arms with other great people that are out there with integrity to help people know this reality of the afterlife. And I did not know about the Lyceum. And could you imagine a world where children are taught this reality and really grow up in their spiritualism and communicating with grandma and grandpa? Who knows? I think it's what's happened once could happen again, and happen in a different way, but really make a profound difference. And of course, the filming is continuing to go on with the Evidence of the Afterlife film that's featuring our own Carrie and Phil. They're heading off to New Zealand and Australia very soon, but we are committed to change the world in a good way. So you'll hear more about that as our Sunday gatherings go on. But as we move on to our demonstration of mediumship, we have Carrie and Phil with us today. And if this is your first time or you've been with us before, Just pretend it's your first time. It's always fun that way. Be on the edge of your seat. We never know what's going to happen. And as you see Carrie, Phil, Nick, and myself on the screen, on behalf of all of us people here on planet Earth, which we have over 150 people here on our Sunday gathering today, we'll get a handful of people in the spirit world that are speaking to us on behalf of all of our loved ones who have passed. I know there's always this prayer that we have, please let my loved one come through. And not that that's a bad thing to do, but instead, maybe the person who needs it the most, let their messages come through, and let us all hear through these wonderful readings just how close all of our loved ones are. And if you listen close enough, you really can pull the messages towards yourself, knowing how close the love is. You might say, oh my gosh, I'm dealing with the same thing in my life. I'm going to take a little bit of that. So don't be disappointed if your loved one doesn't come through. Each week, Carrie, Phil, Darren, or myself take turns as chair of the Sunday gathering. Maybe there's somebody in the unseen world saying, okay, this week is yours. This is what's going to happen. Who knows? Maybe someday we'll find out. But for now, yes, be on the edge of your seat. Carrie and Phil have trained for a long, long time, and they also are, to me, the best tutors of mediumship in the world. And they will invite those in the unseen world to work through them so that they're able to have a voice that was lost when they lost their physical life. So a good mediumship reading gets their messages across and what they want to say, but it's also healing very much for the living, not just for the person who receives it, but for everybody in the gathering as well. When a spirit person works with them, they're going to use their mind, their thoughts, their memories, maybe their sense of smell and taste, songs, who knows how they're going to work. But you'll hear Carrie or Phil give a few initial bits of information about the person that has connected with them. And we are still people when we leave this earth. We're not balls of energy. We are real people with our real personalities, and we get to pick our best height, weight, health, all those good things. So we're looking our best. So you'll hear those few initial bits of information. If you can understand all the bits of information that they just shared about the spirit person they described, we want you to press your raise hand button. And now this is always participation for our community. If you want to find that raise hand button again and just press it a couple times, see how it works on your device. It should go from raise hand, then lower hand, raise hand, lower hand. Why this is important is sometimes with the initial bits of information, there might be 2 or more people that can understand it. So you'll listen in. And then if our medium continues to work and you can no longer take that piece, well, then you'll just put your hand down. And we will get to one person, hopefully, with their hand remaining up. At that point, I press a button on my side. You'll get a pop-up on your screen that says host would like you to unmute. And you will see the unmute button then. I know you cannot see it now. If you have an opportunity to work with one of our mediums or any mediums in the future, don't feed the mediums, as it's called. It's always nice to share your loved ones. Maybe after a reading, you could do that when you're one-on-one with someone. But for you to know that it really is a medium working with the spirit world, we need them to do the work. We need you only to say yes, no, or I don't know. Carrie and Phil have broad shoulders. They teach in their class. No simply means new opportunity. So if something doesn't fit, you can say no. Certainly you can. They would appreciate your honesty. Integrity is at the top of our list here at the Sunday gathering. So just say yes, no, or I don't know. With any medium reading, that feeling, there could be some facts and figures that come out, but for all of us to be left having that sense that we were just gifted some time with some people that no longer walk this earth, whether it's shared memories or just that feeling you have in your soul. So it's really quite wonderful. And I always thank Carrie and Phil and our other mediums for generously donating their time for this. So with that, we like to play a piece of music before we start our demonstration. What song it is, I don't remember the name, but I'll tell you in just a second. It's Jason Mraz, Living in the Moment. And this is our past, present, and future day. So this is living in the present moment. Be in the present moment. Like that Maria Pay said, remember those feelings and those times with your loved ones. Be present to that love. whether you want them with you or not, chances are your room is packed filled with people that love you right now in that unseen world. So just celebrate with them, feel that love. I promise you, we all promise you, you'll see them again. Your life is for a reason now. But let's enjoy this song, and then we will be back together with Carrie and Phil. Beautiful song. And in this moment, we are joined by Carrie McLeod working first. Hi, Carrie.
Hello, nice to see everybody. Nick, thank you for a lovely talk. I'm sure everybody's going to be absolutely dying to, excuse the pun, to hear more during that series of classes. It is, I think it's fundamental to what we do to honour those that have gone before us, because if we didn't, we wouldn't really know the pains, the struggles, and the conditions within which mediums of the past had to endure. They had to endure things that we might have not even coped with now. Perhaps we're not as hardy, or perhaps we don't have to believe so vehemently in something as they did back then. But I'm sure Nick will be able to share with everybody just how hard mediums of the past worked so that we can be here enjoying the Sunday gathering, experiencing spirituality and mediumship, and not going to prison for it, or worse still, dying for it. So it is an absolute pleasure to hear that that story is going to be shared of many of our pioneers. But for the moment, it's my privilege to be able to work with the spirit world for you. So as I'm aware here, I feel I have Dad, and I feel like I'm looking for, okay. I feel I've got Dad here, and I feel that you would understand the name James in the spirit world, but I also feel that you would have had a holiday experience in, I'm trying to remember the name of it, in Florida, where you've got the swamps and there's the trees coming out. Phil? Everglades. The Everglades, thank you. The voice from beyond. You would have experienced a holiday with Dad in the Everglades.
Thank you very much, Carrie. All right, who understands this information? Go ahead and press your raise hand button for us, please. No hands up yet, Carrie.
Okay, if I'm not right with the relationship, would somebody here understand a gentleman in the spirit world? You would also understand the name James in the spirit world, and you would have had an experience in the Everglades in Florida. But I feel that there are some funny stories or some near misses whilst in the Everglades with this gentleman.
Thank you, Carrie. All right, who does this information match with? Who feels right about this? Raise your hand, please. Okay, Katie has her hand raised. All right, Katie, you should be able to see that unmute button. Hi, Katie.
Hi.
Welcome.
I'm not 100% sure. We went to the Everglades with my dad, and I don't have a son named James in the spirit world, but I have a son named James.
You have a son named James.
I have a son named James. He's not in the spirit world.
Okay.
My dad is, and we did go to Florida, and we did go to the Everglades.
Okay, let me work with this for a second, Katie. Then with your dad, he must have had quite an outgoing sense of who he was and personality.
He was pretty outgoing.
Because I feel like there would have been stories that he would have told of that holiday, but there might have been, each time he told it, a slightly different part to it.
I'm not sure.
Okay, if that's not the case, then Katie, you would know when you were in the Everglades with dad that you saw alligators or crocodiles?
Yes, we did.
Okay, I was just checking he wasn't pulling my leg. But I know your dad also knows a James in the spirit world. I know you're saying your name is your son's name is James, but your
Mhm.
dad is correcting me that he also knows a James in the spirit world. Because I know he wants to let you know that they are they've connected there. But with your dad on this holiday, your dad must have had you're doing something every single day. It feels like one thing after another after another.
Mhm. Yes, we aren't from Florida, so we were down in Disneyland and all of that, or
Yeah.
Disney World, I
And
should say, down there.
on that vacation then, Katie, you must also have saw manatees.
I'm not, oh gosh, I'm trying to remember. I don't think so, but
Then you would have gone out on a boat trip whilst in Florida as well.
we did, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
yep.
because when you're out there, I know your dad gives me this impression that this was a big holiday, a huge experience for the family.
It was, yes.
And I know too that he would, Katie, your dad was quite a determined gentleman.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I know that as because he's just changed how he wants to communicate and what he wants to communicate here with. I know that he would have put on such a brave face as he got that towards those latter months and days.
Yeah.
I know he would have also hidden some details from his family about what was happening with him.
Hmm. Yeah.
I also get the impression, Katie, that your dad would have taken you um, before he passed, but quite close to that period in time, he would have taken you and driven you to a celebration or a party or an anniversary event.
I'm trying to think. I'm not sure which one, but we did have some parties and events. So,
Okay, because I know, and Katie, your dad would have passed just after a major celebration or birthday or anniversary within the family.
um, I'm trying to think. Not coming to my head right now.
Then just around about the time of your dad's passing, Katie, you would know that there is a birthday.
Around the time of his passing. A few weeks after, that it's
Okay,
not his mind.
because I know he's apologizing for not making it there.
Oh, thank you.
I know he hung on as long as he could,
Hmm.
but he just couldn't hang on any longer.
Hmm. Yeah.
But you did get a feeling and a sign that your dad was with you on that day.
On my birthday. I
Yes.
think so.
Absolutely sure about that, Katie.
Yeah.
So I get the sense from him that there, when you were on your birthday, you must have a gift or a trinket or back that you brought back from Florida on that holiday with your dad.
Trying I'm trying to remember. It was a little while ago. So we had, lots of stuff we brought back. So I'm trying to
Because I
remember.
know that your dad gives me this impression that he saw you amongst the things that you brought back from that holiday on your birthday just after your dad passed.
Okay. I'll have to think on that one. I know sometimes it'll come to you later.
Then you would have been looking at photographs of that holiday.
Yeah, we have lots of photographs from that holiday. Comes up
And I
sometime.
and I know that you would have been sharing with others about that holiday and telling stories about the crocodiles or the alligators and the boat trip.
Yeah.
And I also have this impression that whilst I know you said that you were at the Disney parks, but whilst you were at the Disney parks, I have this impression from your dad that you would have got separated from him, or you would have had one experience and your dad went another way within one of the parks.
I'm not
Not saying
sure.
you got lost, but it feels like there was a bit of a panic there.
I'm trying to remember. I was an adult then, so trying to remember.
And if you were the adult, there must have been a situation where one of the children or younger people, you thought you'd lost them or misplaced them or had a panic about them.
Oh gosh, I honestly don't remember. Yeah, it was about 12 years ago, so I'm not
Then,
sure.
Katie, if that's not right, you would know when you were on holiday and you were younger, there would have been a time where your dad thought he'd lost you or you went wandering and misplaced yourself.
That's always possible. I don't remember, but I know my dad was very, very careful about
I know
keeping
he
us
was
safe.
because he's fiercely
Very,
protective here. And with
yeah,
all the crocodiles, the alligators, the holidays, the getting lost,
yeah,
I know this is his way of identifying that right now he knows you need to hear from him.
yeah.
And right now he needs to let you know that you are not lost in any way, nor is he. He's very much there with you.
Thank you.
I'm going to leave your dad's love with you, Katie, and say thank you very much for allowing me to do that for you.
Thank you. And thank you very much. That's wonderful.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, everybody, for listening in.
Okay, I do feel like I have brother in the spirit world, and I feel like he passes. Okay, I've actually got two people here. I'm going to leave brother for the moment. Somebody in the audience has a gentleman in the spirit world that would have gone for a seemingly simple operation or procedure and would have passed very soon after that procedure with complications. But you would also have brother in the spirit world.
Thank you very much, Carrie. All right. Valerie, you have your hand raised. And oh, Katerina also does. We have two.
Then would one of these ladies understand this gentleman in the spirit world? I actually have this impression he might have passed on or just after the operation on the operating table or just after.
Valerie and
So there's
Katerina,
complications.
both hands. Oh, okay. One hand went down, another hand went up. Katerina's hand is up, and then Jane also raised her hand.
And Katerina understands brother in the spirit world as well. Can I speak to her, please?
Yes. Katerina, if you could press your unmute button. Hi.
Hi,
Hi, welcome.
welcome.
Oh, Katerina from the Netherlands.
No, from Belgium.
From Belgium, sorry.
Hey,
Yes, sorry. I
locally.
met you. Yes.
Yes,
Apologies. So you understand a gentleman in the spirit world who passed on the operating table through complications.
yes, my father.
Oh, okay. And you also have brother in the spirit world.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Then you would know that your brother has a very quick-witted sense of humor.
Yes, it did.
And you know he would have found some things funny when nobody else would.
I think so, yes.
because I know his sense of humor is, I get it, but I don't understand it. And Katharina, if the gentleman in the spirit world is your dad that passed on the operating with complications, he must have been a very steady man and far more serious than your brother.
Uh-oh.
You understand that? You still there, Katharina?
Yes, I'm here. I lost you for a second.
Okay. You understand your dad would have been, I forgot what it was, but more serious than your brother.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, and I feel like he was quite stern as well. He was quite straightforward and very
It's my
direct.
half brother and my stepfather. Yes.
Okay, then your stepfather was very direct and quite abrupt.
Yes, he was.
Because I know with here, there's no getting it wrong. It has to be this way and it's got to be that way. But with your brother, I know that he would have at times got you into trouble. If
I
I would take
understand
that
it.
as a no,
I understand it.
because if it's not him getting you into trouble, then you both got into trouble. Because I know I've got dad and brother giggling here.
I don't think they have known each other.
Then they do in the spirit world. Bear in mind,
Yes.
they do in the spirit world. I
Yeah.
know that there is this sense from your, I know you're saying it's your stepbrother, but there's a sense from your stepbrother that he knew you really well.
No, it's my stepfather and my half brother.
Okay, with your half brother, he would have known you very well,
I think so.
because there would have been times where you knew how far to push each other with the joking and with the playing.
Yes.
And I know that your stepfather would, I feel there's an apology from your stepfather, Katharina, that there's this feeling with him for not accepting you and seeing you for who you are.
I understand that.
And I know that he has had contact with you before, directly to you before. He gives me that feeling.
Yes, it does.
And I know that he has, you felt him close to you when you've been doing your spiritual work.
Yes.
And it's confirmation of that. And with your half brother, I get this impression that you were there for him. I get this thanks from him for being there and for doing what you did and for standing up for him.
Yes, thank you.
And that standing up for him is incredibly important.
Thank you.
I'm going to say thank you for allowing me to do that. I know that there is your dad with his steadfast and your stepdad with his steadfast and quite strict and upfront, and your brother with his thanking you for defending him. They're coming in because they know that right now you're having to do this for yourself,
Yes.
to outside of yourself.
Thank you.
And this is their way of saying, we see what's going on and we are there.
Thank you very much, Carrie.
Okay, Katharina, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katharina. Thank you, Carrie.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure to be able to work here. I'm going to pass over to Philip Dykes, who's just off to my right.
Thank you very much. They have a wonderful background. It looks like, I don't know where, but I do know they are going to Australia and New Zealand, so I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm not sure where it is, the background at all there, Sandra.
It's nice.
There we go. Anyway, it's an absolute pleasure to be here, as always, on the Sunday Gathering, but also as well to listen to Carrie, but also that wonderful address and talk by Nick, because we don't hear enough about those pioneers. And a wonderful lady who has gone to the spirit world called Mavis Patilla once said that we stand in the footsteps of giants, and every medium that works is standing in them footsteps, as we support and very much are the ambassadors of their words as they come forward. So without further ado, I will begin, because in fact, I've got a couple of people with me. As I become aware of the spirit world, I know I have a gentleman, and I keep on hearing the name of John, but also Peter. And I know here as I work, I want to talk about Father in the spirit world, and I do believe it is Peter as well, and there should be a John there as well. But I know with Peter, I get the sense of wanting to have a little bit of fun, and I know it's almost like I can't keep still with him. So I know he's that real live wire, but I also feel he passes quickly to the spirit world as well. I do believe it's a chest condition. I do believe it's the heart. And I also know with Peter as well, he would have told some really good jokes as well. So I know I have Peter and John. I do believe I've got it the right way around. Peter is the father. I know he passes with that heart, but I know there's a really good sense of humor there with him as well.
Thank you, Phil. All right, friends, who understands this information? This person, go ahead, or these people, go ahead and press your raise hand button, please. And I'll just patiently smile at you while I wait, while we wait. All right, Jane has her hand raised. Phil, let's bring her in. Jane, if you could press your unmute button. Hi, Jane.
Hi, Sandra. Hi, Phil.
Hello, Jane. Do you understand what I've said as in Dad, Peter, and also would there be a John as well?
Well, okay, Dad, yes. Peter, yes. The jokes and the not sitting still fits for him.
Yes.
And what was the third piece? I'm
I
sorry.
thought
John?
it was John, the name of John as well.
John is my brother, but he's not in the spirit world.
Okay, so I've just got it the wrong way around. But would you understand with your father as well? In fact, I want to go back to, just bear with me a second, because there's a little bit of confusion in my mind. You said that Peter was the live way, he's in the spirit.
Yes.
That's fine.
Yes.
Because I know
And he
here,
passed.
that's fine, because I know here, this is who I want to talk about, because it's almost like where he couldn't keep still. You don't know what's going to come next.
Yes. Yes.
And there's a real sense with him that I'm going to tell jokes, but some of these jokes could be a little bit extreme as well.
Yes, I think that's accurate.
It feels where I can be a little bit risque as well, if I can safely say that, because it's just almost like there's a little bit of an unfiltered. I'm not sure where I sit with him, as he makes me feel uncomfortable. So I know he would have had that little bit of a gift at saying things, and nobody knew exactly where he was going to go with it.
True. Very true.
But I also feel his passing, like I said, was quite quick, because it feels like it's the heart as well.
Yes, it was a fast
Because
shock.
again, it's that sense of just going. It's a bit of a surprise, but I know that, and it's going to sound really strange, but I know that suits his personality, because I know he won't want it to go any other way. But again, I know at events and family get-togethers, he would be that person that kept everyone entertained.
Absolutely.
Okay, because
Yes.
it feels like I'm going to just talk with anybody and there's no difference, and he could be quite down to earth as well with his sayings and everything else.
Yes.
Because there's some things here even I'm a little bit nervous about saying, because it feels like he's not bothered who's who, if they have a title or not, he would just speak to them the same.
Yes, I think so.
Because I know there's just that impression with him as well. But I also feel here he keeps. Would you understand where he could be a little bit embarrassing as well?
Yes.
Because he keeps on doing things, and I'm thinking, oh my, there's no chance of me doing this, because I know I get banned straight away, because it's just who he is as well. So I can't share some of these things, which is unfortunate. But I just get this impression. Okay, now I understand what's going on. I'm just going to leave him for 1 second. Where we talked about Dad in the spirit world, would you understand where your dad could be quite serious as well?
Yes.
Because now I'm understanding why I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable, because I've got this gentleman telling jokes and I've got your dad that's completely, who wouldn't tolerate this kind of thing, because I know there's this sense of your father, almost, it's almost like you see him watching, but he doesn't say a great deal.
Yes, polar opposites. Yes.
Because I know it's just all of a sudden, it's like I can feel, and I want to say, in a sense, a lot of people looked up to your father because he was a serious man.
Yes.
And it's almost if you want really sound advice, this is the person you would ask as well. Now, I know I'm painting him a picture in a certain way, but I want to say your dad was very much a family man. He loved the family around him.
Yes.
And it's all the sentimental values as well. And would I be right in saying that dad used to fall asleep in front of the television as well?
At the very end. Yeah.
Because I know here it's almost like I can hear the snoring, but all of a sudden I can just see the flickering of the telly in the background. So I know he would have done this. But it's almost where he didn't want to miss out on anything. Even though he's that quiet man, he wouldn't want to miss out.
Yes.
And when I say miss out, it's almost like I want to have that sit down and talk to you. And I know you had that close bond with your father as well, Jane.
Yes, I did.
And
Yes.
I know here sometimes words don't need to be shared, just a look from your dad and you felt safe and secure.
Yes, very
And
much.
I also know as well, you could tell what he thought of people by his face and his reactions.
I could, yes.
It's because I know this is what he keeps on bringing me to. I know my lovely wife has a wonderful way of rolling her eyes out loud, but I know with your father, he's just raised his eyebrows. So I know I get
Yes.
tense with him as well. And I know just recently, you must have been going through some either photographs and paperwork of your father's.
Yesterday, yes.
That's fine, because I know he says I was with you as you went through it as well. And I want to say some of those photographs you've forgotten about.
Yes. Actually, it was this morning. Yes.
Okay, it was this morning, because I know he makes me aware of this, but there's a real sense with him of wanting to tell the story. So I know one-on-one, on his own, he could talk and he would open up about the past with things you did together.
Absolutely. Very true.
And I also believe as well, your father was quite a selfless man. He never looked for recognition.
Yes.
Because I know he helped you out through life, and
Mhm.
it gives me this impression he's not going into specific things because he doesn't want that recognition, but he says you would know where he helped you out, where other members in the family wouldn't.
Yes.
Because again, there's that sense. But I also feel as well that your father was a gentleman, not just a dad, but he was a gentleman where women were concerned and also where you were concerned.
Yes. Very
And
much.
I know it was little token gestures he did for you, like giving you a birthday card that was important.
Mhm. Yes.
And I also know that you've kept some of those cards he gave to you.
Oh, yes.
Okay, and it also feels here you've kept some of Dad's either paperwork, is that correct?
All of it. Yes, I
All of
have
it,
all of it.
because I want to say, even though it's not worth anything, sentimental value, you treasure it.
Oh, yes. Not all of it, but yes, most of it. Yes.
I also know as well, your dad used to give you the best hugs as well.
Yes. He was
Because
a
I
good
know
hugger.
it wasn't just about the hug, it was about his scent as well. And I know since he's passed to the spirit world, you've smelled a scent that's reminded you of your father.
Yes, I think.
Because I know
Yes.
here, just it's the way that he impresses this upon me as well. And I want to say that your dad had a wonderful way of having difficult conversations, but he made them easy.
Um, yes, I think that's pretty accurate.
Because the
Yes.
reason I know that is because when Peter was talking and pressing on me before, Dad's had a word with him, he's calmed down, and Peter's got his head down. So I know Peter didn't like to be put in his place, but I know he has been by
Yeah.
your father as
Okay.
well. But I get that sense they're both here together because of, I know you said they were polar opposites, but I know they're both here just to bring that upliftment at the moment and to keep your head up high. Would I also be right, Jane, saying your mum is in the spirit world?
She passed 3 days ago.
That's fine, because I know your dad has just said to me about mum being with him, and I also know as well that dad is looking after her and dad was there for her. So I know when you were sat with your mum, you must have asked dad to do this.
I did. I told her to go
Because
be
I
with
know,
him.
okay, because I know it's important I relay those words to you as well. And if I'm right here as well, the last moments with your mum, you would have given her that kiss as well.
Absolutely, I did. Yes.
And I know it wasn't just about giving her that kiss. She wasn't able to converse with you at the end, but I know you did everything for her.
Yes.
And if I'm right, you must have stroked her face to calm her down as well.
Yes. And yes,
Would
I
I be
was.
right in saying that your mum was a bit of a tough cookie, though? She liked to do things in her own way.
Yeah, I mean, she was very routine. Yes, yes.
Because it's almost like, and would you understand with what happened at the end, it's almost she tried to hang on.
She did. She waited for me. I was
Because I
racing
know
there.
that's fine. I wish you would have said that, but I know she
Sorry.
hung on. That's fine. I know she hung on, and I know here it's important because of that last embrace, that last hug, that last kiss. And I need to say from her to you,
Yeah.
I love you. And I
Yeah.
want to say thank you for my care and thank you for intervening where my care was as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did a lot of that.
I know you did. And I know you did some things here to keep your mum's dignity because she's impressing this on me as well. And I know it's either just after she passed where you said within your mind, let me know if you're okay, because I know she wants to let you know she's fine and she's well and she's with dad in the spirit world.
Oh, thank you so much, Phil.
You're absolutely welcome. You're absolutely
Yeah.
welcome.
And
I
Pete
know
is my brother-in-law, and I'll tell my sister, so that'll
that's
help
fine.
her
That's
as
fine.
well.
That's fine. So I'm going to leave all their love with you and say thank you for allowing me to do that for you, Jane.
Thank you, Phil.
You're welcome. You're absolutely welcome.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Phil.
Okay. That's fine. So as I become aware of the spirit world again, I've got somebody's son with me. And I know that son, oh my word, is not always politically correct, because I know there's some words I'm hearing that are very choice here as well, and I can't repeat them. But I also feel that son was either in his late teens, but I know also he was a little bit of a live wire. And I also know he went down well with the ladies as well, because it gives me this impression of school and different things. But I also get the impression that he will get in trouble at school because he was the one that was always dared to do something and he would always do it, sort of thing. So I know there were memories of doing these things as well.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, friends, who does this information make sense to? Phil, we have a few ladies with their hands.
There'll be a few ladies. Okay. I also feel with son as well, there would be a picture of him almost like with his top off as well, almost and I want to say it's almost like posing for the camera where I'm holding my hands up and everything. So I know he was a bit of an extrovert as well. So can we drop those three ladies' hands and just see who comes back in? Because I know there seems to be a bit of an extrovert side to him as well.
All right, I lowered all hands. If you can take all the information, including the picture, go ahead and put your hand back up. All right, we have Diane.
Two of them.
Yeah, yep.
That's fine. But again, it's almost where I want to say there's something here. Bear with me, ladies, while I try and just work on this for a second. That's fine. There would be where there should be a memory where he had his friends around to the house, and I also know that his friends would flirt with mum, or I know, and he would almost play on this as well. So I know there's that good relationship between son and mother where there was a lot of fun interaction, but I know his friends would either flirt or he would tease his friends where mum was concerned.
Thank you very much. All right, one hand went down and a different one went up. Tanya's been with us since the beginning.
Can we bring Tanya in then? She's been with us since the beginning.
Yes, and Karen, you keep listening in. Tanya, if you could press your unmute button. Hello.
Hi. Hello,
Hi.
it's Tanya.
Tanya.
Hello, Tanya. Do you understand everything I've said?
Yes, most of it.
Most of it. Would you understand where your son could be a bit of a flirt with the ladies?
Yes.
Because it's almost like he was very popular with the ladies as well, because he was a good-looking young man.
Yes.
But because
Yes,
it just feels where I'm not just flirting, I would always get the attention as well. But I want to say he would always try and he would always get on with most people, even teachers, because he had that, just those looks and that personality.
Absolutely, yes.
Because again, it just feels like I'm a little bit of a live wire. But I also feel he would always be the one that would get into trouble as well, where the friends would dare him to do things.
Yes, that's so true.
And would I be right in saying this would happen quite a lot at school?
Yes, and also a little bit later. Yes, definitely.
Okay, that's fine. Because I get the sense here, and would I be right in saying your son could be a bit adventurous and he would go out of his way to experience life, like climb and different things? Not saying climb mountains, but it's almost like I know he was that typical boy, and whatever he was dared to do, he would do.
Yes, absolutely.
That's fine,
Absolutely right.
because I know there's just that sense with him as well. And now it's going to sound really bizarre, but would I be right in saying he was either ever told off or got in trouble for climbing on a roof?
That I will not remember. No.
Because I know he keeps on showing me the same thing. He's sat on a roof and he's doing all these gestures I can't go into, but I know it's that sense of fun with him and adventure. But I also feel as well with your son, though, he was a very sensitive young man.
Absolutely correct.
And
yes.
I also know he was very protective of you as well, Tanya.
Absolutely correct. Yes, very,
But
very
it
much.
must also be where he brought his friends round to see you as well.
Yes, very often, since
And
very young age.
that's fine. But would I be right as they got to those teenage years, either some of his friends would flirt with you or try to?
I will not know about that, but yes,
Okay.
he had very close friends.
Because I know here he would tease them and everything, but I know he
Yeah.
would wind them up, because I know he's a little bit naughty as he impresses things in my mind here about where you're concerned, and his friends as well. But I also know his friends and him used to love being in the home, because I know he gives me the impression where you looked after him and his friends and fed them and everything else.
Yes, every holiday, school holidays, definitely.
Because I know here it's almost like he seems to bring them in, that all his friends think you're the best mum and favorite thing, and it's just the way that he wants to impress this. But I also get the impression with son, would I be right in saying that it's almost where it was misadventure where he passed?
Say again?
Do you know how he passed was like misadventure, like an accident?
No, not really. No.
Bear with me 1 second. Then would you understand, because I get the impression I have to be very delicate here, that he would have passed by his own hands?
No.
Because I know there's something I'm not quite understanding, but I know it's important that I say that he's okay and I'm all right as well. And the reason I keep on being drawn back to this, would I be right in saying that your son would always spoil you?
Yes,
buy you little
correct.
gifts and things. And because it's almost where I want to be giving you things on Mother's Day, like World's Best Mother, like little cups and different things. But I also know he was very choosy about what cards he gave you.
Absolutely correct. Yes.
Because I know it's not just about the picture, it's about the words as well. And you must still have kept some of these cards, and I'm not sure if he's bought you like some kind of gift present that has the words of World's Best Mum or along those lines.
Yes.
Because I
Correct.
want to be right in saying you still have that and you have it displayed.
Not displayed, but I have it.
That's fine, because I know he keeps on bringing it, but I know he could be a
Yeah.
little bit cheeky as well, because it feels like I want to be, how can I put this? It feels like I want to be getting it out or reminding you of it as well. But I also know there's impression where you still have that bond with him, because I know he makes me aware of him hearing your words every day. So I know you still speak to him.
Yes, that's correct. I do.
And I also know as well that you've asked him to come today as well.
Yes, correct.
Because I know he's just mentioned to me, I listened to your words and I know you've asked. And would I be right in saying around now there is a birthday coming up?
Yes, that's correct.
Because I know
That's
he
correct.
just keeps on saying happy birthday, happy birthday. So I know it's his way of reminding people. I want us to speak about him for a second. Would I be right in saying he wouldn't let people forget his own birthday?
No.
Because he feels he could be a little bit cheeky and just remind people as well. So I know he's just got that sense about him. But I know it's all about living life and that personality of his being larger than life that I need to leave with you, because it's almost like I just want to tease you. I want to wind you up. I just want to do those things in the best way possible, because I know that's how he was.
Thank you so much. That's
You're
so true.
absolutely welcome, Tanya. You're absolutely welcome. Thank you for allowing me to do that with you. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time again where everything comes to a close, but it's an absolute honor to not just demonstrate, but to hear Nick talk about those pioneers and be able to do what I do and Carrie does and many other mediums because of those pioneers in the past. The sacrifices, the things where they stood up for their beliefs, and were they, in a sense, not just sacrificed life, but actually gave up normal things in life to actually do this, to give us the space and the time to actually follow in their footsteps. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Phil. And as always, if you guys want to press a little raise hand button for Carrie and Phil, just a few announcements coming up, and then we'll go back to Phil with a couple of words for the week and our closing prayer. But announcements. First of all, I know for many in our community, our thoughts are with you. We've had a loved one passed in the recent future, or even for some, it's a little longer, and that grief is still very, very heavy in our hearts. To me, there's nothing worse than grief, and I want to make sure you have some resources. I know we have many parents with us today. HelpingParentsHeal.org is a great organization. Also, if you're not a parent, they have a wonderful YouTube channel through their website. It's one of the few grief organizations that believe in the afterlife, and they have over 16,000 parents. So if you're a parent and you're not yet connected, it's free and it's wonderful. Also, my book, We Don't Die, you can have a free copy of that. Chapter 10 is about grief and what happens to our system when we're grieving. There's some things to help move through the process. If you've ever purchased anything at the wedon'tdie.com site before, you already have a copy of it in your library. But if not, just on the main page at We Don't Die, just put in your name and your email address, and the book will pop up there for you. How to find our friend Nick, of course, like I said, one of the best kept secrets is Soul Quest and a beautiful healing service, 10 a.m. Eastern time, United States, 3 p.m. London time. It's wonderful. It's just an hour, and it lends so much difference. Your prayers, your energy is used all over the world. So I can't recommend that enough. Go to soulquest.org.uk. Coming up this week, our friend Scott Milligan will be doing on Tuesday some sitting for the power hours. Friday, we sit for a demonstration of trance mediumship and also sending healing. You're getting the message here how important healing is. Also, there'll be a 3-hour workshop with Scott called Wellness and Healing. Coming up with Carrie and Phil, lots of good things. February 20th through 22nd, they're doing a 3-day class on clairvoyance. All students of all levels are welcome. And clairvoyance is those pictures that you get in your mind and how to work with that. Really a special course, 3 2-hour days. And of course, with all of our classes, if you can't join us live, you get the replay. So that's what you want to have in your resources. Then these two fabulous people will be heading down under. For anyone who lives in New Zealand and Australia or wants to take a visit, there's nothing like meeting our tutors live and in person. You can give Carrie and Phil a great big hug, go to a demonstration, take a course with them. Beautiful areas, beautiful places that they're going to be. Their website is mymediumship.com, and you can click on the live events. They'll also be coming to the United States and Canada and England, and it's wonderful to be with them live. While they're away, we have Nick doing the 6-session class, The History of Mediumship, which can't wait for. On the Wednesdays and Thursdays, we have our good friends, Kath and Mitch Shirley, that Phil and Carrie asked to take over the Tuesday and Wednesday classes while they're away. So Tuesdays will be the structure of a psychic reading. Wednesdays will be the structure of a psychic reading, and Thursdays will be the structure of a medium reading. So again, those are really good ones you want to keep in your library for that structure. There'll be breakout groups as well. All are invited to participate in those classes as well. And what else? Details for everything is at wedon'tdie.com. And one last shout out to those fine souls that are out there that have supported the Sunday gathering financially, and you've donated a little bit. It makes a difference and helps us keep on keeping on. If you wish to donate or you wish to review past Sunday gatherings or register for the ones coming up, if you go to the wedon'tdie.com website, just click on Free Sunday Gathering, and there's so much more there. So let me pass it over to Phil.
Thank you, Sandra, for those wonderful announcements. That there's so much going on and lots of things for people to enjoy. But what a wonderful theme it has. And we have a wonderful saying in the UK, we always leave the past behind us and we move forward. Well, sometimes that we might be glad of that with the experiences that we've had. But we have to thank that past. We have to thank those people in that past because they've made us into the people that we are today. And sometimes when things are not perfect and they're not wonderful experiences, we brush past those. But actually, it's those experiences where we learn from. So what I want to say is not just life, but those people that you've loved, those people in your families, how they've inspired you, how they raised you. But most of all, as we know from mediumship, those people are still rooting for us, still loving us. So we learn from those pasts, we learn from those people in many, many different ways. But there's something about being here and now and really rejoicing in this moment, the moment of life, of what's coming up this week, but also putting our best foot forward to that future. And there's only one person responsible for that future, and that is you. You've got a responsibility to be happy, a responsibility to make life as best you can. And once we start to live in that moment and move forward with it, and we enjoy everything we do, then that's when we start to have successes in life. And with successes can be just happiness of waking up in the morning and just feeling on top of the world, where we've got a little bit of a spring in our step. So let's thank the past. Let's enjoy this moment of the present, but let's move forward with the spring in our steps and with a smile on our faces and enjoy everything we have the look of opportunities to do and make the most of them, and know that in that moment you are making your best moment of truth of who you are, and we learn from those. So just a short few words of the week, but it's also my pleasure to do the closing prayer. So while we're thinking about those loved ones of the past, let's hold them within our minds and in our hearts, close our eyes and rejoice within those memories. Great eternal Spirit, we thank you for those lessons that you've given us, but we thank you for those people within our lives, how they've inspired us, how they've lifted us, and how they've raised us. But it is now with the truth in our hearts that we walk within this life to be the best people that we can. And we ask for that light to shine in front of us, to guide us through this life as well, as we meet many friends and many people that will help us move forward. It is again with that love, with that forever gratefulness within our hearts, we ask that your presence remain with us, and those in the spirit world remain with us, helping us within this life, helping build bridges between ourselves and other members of the family, but also building that positive future for us, knowing that we're all children of yours and all within your love and within your healing, as we ask for those words and upliftment to come to us in the moments where we need, knowing we're never on our own. Amen.
Thank you so much, Phil. And it's interesting how our closing prayer just goes right along with what I didn't know you were going to say. So just perfect. And one more time, just thank you to Carrie, Phil, and Nick, to you at home or wherever you are, and of course, our friends in the spirit world. Our closing video is going to be from a young man that I've followed for some time. His name is Cody Lee. And if anybody watches the America's Got Talent or Britain's Got Talent, you're familiar with these shows. Well, young Cody Lee, when he was just a boy, couldn't communicate verbally, but he could, his mom realized, communicate through music. And he had one of those ears where if he heard a song, he could reproduce it. So several years ago, he entered America's Got Talent and he ended up winning. And he would recreate songs of other great singers. And although he's blind, autistic, and his speech isn't so great, what he could say through music was exceptional. And as the future, as far as past, present, and future, this young man is currently in the America's Got Talent finalist. They had all the stars coming back. And so he'll be on tomorrow night in the finalists. But what he has done is gone from recreating other songs to he's just started creating his own songs. So he wrote a song to his mom as a thank you for who she's been for him. So with our closing song, for whoever that person is or those people are that helped and were part of your past, making you who you are today, let's just all thank them. And let's all root for Cody Lee for tomorrow night that he gets crowned champion. That was a beautiful song. Cried then, cried now. With that, everyone, have a great week. Valentine's Day is coming up. Just share that love today and every day. And for those who are watching the Super Bowl today, let's hope it's a safe game and we have a lot of fun watching. All right, everyone, we love you. We thank you. We'll see you next week, if not sooner. Bye.